How do we love people who are hard to love? Because that's the real challenge. It's easy to love the lovable people. Anyone can do that. But we, as people of a church like ours, we are called to love all people. Because love is the spirit of this church. Because our church is called All Souls, not All Saints. Right? If we called ourselves All Saints Church, then we could probably get away with only accepting loving and good souls. But that's not our path. We have a mission to work toward the ultimate reconciliation of all humanity. That's the real meaning of the flower communion. As we just heard, and as we hear every year on this Sunday, the Reverend Norbert Chapek, who created this beautiful pageant in which everyone brings a flower and places it into a central basket, and we bless the flowers, and everyone takes a different flower home, he was ultimately killed by the Nazis for his inclusive views of people and of faith. And when we hear this story, it is so easy to let our minds go down that same old path that divides the human family between the good and the bad, the victims and the victimizers, Jews and Gentiles. But we have to resist this common way of thinking so that we can create something new. And that's the essence of motherhood, isn't it? At least in the biological sense, to create something new. To give birth to something that's never existed before. And being a mother in more than a biological sense, and there are many such mothers, means to nurture new life so that it can survive and grow. And when we speak of loving the unlovable, we can learn a lot from our mothers. They are famous for loving us anyway, right? Even when we mess up, even when we get in trouble, even when we're depressed and addicted and locked up, even when we treat them poorly. My mother has certainly loved me through a lot of things, more than I often deserved. Mothers are our main example of unconditional love. Now, that doesn't mean that every mother lives up to that high calling and image that we have. But it may just be one more of the unrealistic expectations that we put upon mothers and women in this society. But my point today is that these two ideas of motherhood have something important to teach all of us. In fact, if I were the author of the Bible or any scripture, I would have made God in the image of a mother, not a father. It makes more sense. Mothers literally give birth to life. And they love what they've given birth to unconditionally. And our flower communion exemplifies both of these qualities. The central basket that receives all the flowers that are placed in it by whomever places them represents unconditional love and acceptance. Flowers of every size and distinction, flowers of every age and kind and color are received. The basket represents the church, and the church represents the family of God, or the family of all souls. In that way, the church is like a mother, in that it's an example of unconditional love and acceptance. And it's like a womb through which we seek to conceive something truly new upon the earth. And what our church is called to do is to offer a vision of a redeemed humanity by being a living testimony of freedom and of the ultimate reconciliation of all people. Like the flower communion, we are called to be a bouquet of people of every shape, size, color, culture, orientation, gender expression, income level, ability, and age. Each week, our worship must be a kind of a rehearsal for the world to come. A creation in time and space of the world as we yearn for it to be. Each week, it is a celebration that symbolizes our image of heaven. heaven for 1 hour or so, right here on earth. As we bring flowers and exchange flowers in this pageant, it's more than a celebration. It's an illustration of the eternal unity that underlies the human family. It's not easy to love those who don't love us back, those who hurt us, those who are so different from us. When Chapek stood up to the Nazis, it wasn't because he hated them, it was because he loved them. It wasn't because he thought that they were so different from him, it was because he knew they were just like him. Chapek stood up to the Nazis because he loved all people, even the people who had become Nazis. So much that he was willing to give his own life to stop the spread of hate and injustice in all its forms, knowing that it was sucking the soul even out of those people who were participating in it. Now, the reconciliation of humanity is no easy work. It requires not only loving those who hate us, it also requires recognizing that we all have a little piece of a potential Nazi inside of us. We all have a slave driver inside. We all have a crook, a gangbanger, and a terrorist inside. And when we can come to see our own potential to do such harm, then we can truly forgive and find redemption.